Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 80 Days. We are, let's see, in Vienna on day 8. I know where we are. Why would you even think to say that I wouldn't know where we are? Well, let's get off. That sounds weird. Oh god. How about we go back here? Let's see what we have in the market. No. 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 No, no. I think we're all okay. Let's get off. I'm gonna stop saying that. Let's go to Warsaw. The gallant rider. It was not the Orient Express that took us northeast from Vienna towards Warsaw. That train traveled to exotic locations. We were destined for the gloomy cold of the north, into the paws of the bear of Russia. I fell into conversation with a Russian gentleman who, as he told me at great length, was making the long journey back to Vladivostok. Sure, let's go with that. Via Moscow in the Trans-Siberian Express. I told him of our journey, and he smiled at the whimsy of it. There's much to see in the world, or so I hear. The train juddered. I asked him about Moscow, and he shrugged. A nice enough city to pass through, he said. But not one to stay in. Too easy to offend the Tsar and his loyalists there. He bid me farewell, and I returned to my compartment. Greetings, Monsieur Krastotkin. Sure, let's go that. Good evening, men of France. I am sure you know all about Warsaw. I hear that Minsk can be reached from Warsaw aboard the Barrelless Express. Is it possible to travel from Warsaw to Odessa? Maybe, but you can obtain good false teeth in Odessa, extremely valuable in Omsk. Do tell me more about Odessa. Odessa is a cool place, and no mistake. I think we should be on our way and head over to Moscow. The train itself was comfortable enough, and fast. We arrived in Warsaw before nightfall. I'm thinking we'll make our way to... Where did I say? We'll make our way to... Moscow. There it is. Let's see. We'll get rid of you. We don't really have room for anything, do we? Let's get a second suitcase and have this coat. Alright, that should be enough for the market. Let's see. Let's spend the night in a hotel. We walked the streets of Warsaw, feeling the air of a different continent all around. In less than 2 generations, the Tsars had made this little outpost all their own. They have made it much nicer, too. There are building works on every road, with great digging machines sitting idle during the day and coming to life in the evening, as they carve out sewage and water systems that will allow this city to grow to enormous size. A touch of empire can do wonders, I remarked to Monsieur Fogg, but his eyebrow scolded me. No good will come of this, he replied. Only malignant growths and rust expand at such a rate. He shook his head sadly. When will people realize that only the English are fit to run an empire? I did not argue. What would have been the use? A gentleman lives in a gentler world. I think we'll make our way off to Moscow. Maybe we will look around first. see, we haven't actually gotten our way there. Let's explore a bit, shall we? Ah, to Stockholm. Going out in the day, I encountered an incredible creature, as tall as a house, with wide, swinging metal arms, like a rampaging giant. I stared, gawping as the terrible machine stomped from foot to foot, slowly rotating. And then I saw that in its chest was a man, using levers and switches to operate the colossal device. It was a gigantic walking exoskeleton. I waved to him and he looked down and tipped his cloth cap. "Are you safe up there?" I asked. "Absolutely," he called back. "You're more at risk down there." "What is this thing?" I continued. "It's a Kodonki," he said. "From Novorossiysk. Sure, let's go with that. They've shipped a few in to help us with the building work." He pulled the lever and the machine drew back a massive arm. "From Novorossiysk, you say?" "It's a small town on the far side of the Black Sea," he replied. "I don't know why they have a surplus of these things there." The drawn-back arm smashed into a wall and the building fell into a cloud of dust. I jumped back. "Excuse me, my friend called, but I must get back to work." What an incredible sight. Let's make our way off to Stockholm. Would be better. Alright. With what remained of the day, I afforded my master every service, providing him with clipped mustaches. Let's see if we can't make our way to Stockholm, though it seems to be a very expensive trip. Mild seas and cold weather. This looks like a wearisome experience, but the fur coat from our Russian gentleman's wardrobe set should make things easier. Alright, off we go. We were carried in a carriage to that place in an efficient little steam car, and then boarded the Baltic Express, a luxurious ship that rivaled the Orient Express itself for quality. "Thank you, my good man. I feel better." I enjoyed myself, watching the scenery go by and relaxing. Even a valet must take time off. By nightfall, we were rounding the point into Stockholm Harbor. The lights were lit and the streets filled with an icy fog. The pocket altimeter should be quite valuable here. We found our hotel to be well appointed and were glad of it, because the streets outside became fearfully cold as night fell. "It's a wonder people can live in such a chilly place," I remarked to my master, who gave me a look even chillier in response. "People," he replied, "live everywhere." A cheerful thought. From the way he turned his head, it was clear that Monsieur Fogg found my remark distasteful, but he made no particular rejoinder. I suppose we will wait a bit and wait for the market to open and see what we can sell. That was quite the expensive trip. I suppose it was overseas. Drinking horn. Unstealable wallet. A healing salve. This may be worth taking. Yes, that seems fine. Well, let's do a bit of exploring, see what we can find. Alright. We met a middle-aged Swede by the name of Sven, who offered to show us around during the day. The city was undergoing vast development everywhere we looked. Great monstrous machines moved the very earth, and buildings made of granite slabs rose like Egyptian temples block by block, almost as we watched. We are building the future here in Sweden. We are very advanced, Sven told me. You must be very proud. We are, Sven agreed agreeably. I asked about the Duchy of Finland, most likely the next stop on our journey. Finland is a wonderful country, he told us with some enthusiasm. They have developed reindeer with steam jets that can fly across the night sky at wondrous speeds. That sounds excellent, I exclaimed. We must track them down. Good, yes, Sven nodded, smiling broadly. We took our leave of him, and he seemed almost sorry to see us go. I suspect he was a lonely soul. Arrives tomorrow. We might as well get over to St. Petersburg. We'll stay a day. I wonder whatever happened to our cash we took out. As night fell, I washed and hung our linen to ensure everything was ship-shape for our upcoming departure. The Baltic Ferry. We left Stockholm promptly and without fuss. Greetings, monsieur. Yes? I'm very interested in St. Petersburg. I have nothing to say. Is there a route from St. Petersburg to Prague? Surely not. Is it possible to travel from St. Petersburg to Ekaterinburg? Talk a lot, don't you? Well, fuck you too then. Baltic ferry, more like the bitch ferry. The ferry left Stockholm's terminal and cut into the Baltic Sea for the short crossing to Helsinki. Excuse me. My spirits were buoyed by the thought of flying reindeer. Hopefully our journey on from Helsinki would be wonderfully fast. We docked at Helsinki in the early evening, and I persuaded Monsieur Fogg that we should disembark. Maybe worth it, rather. We'll take it. This seems to be where we are heading. That should be all. Arrives Tuesday. It seems they're pretty demanding. Oh my. Yes. We'll just wait here. In the lobby of our little hotel, there were 15 different varieties of vodka flavored with various herbs and berries. I sampled the strawberry first and found it enjoyable, if not revelatory, and after that, I moved on to the bilberry, and that quite took my fancy. I awoke, as they say, somewhere else, and staggered back to Monsieur Fogg in time for his morning ablutions, with a splitting headache and another unopened bottle under one arm. Sunday. Let's go exploring, shall we? We were accosted outside the visa office in Helsinki by a stony-faced official with white blonde hair who prodded me in the shoulder. Yes? What? He began slowly. The hell, he continued, are you doing in Helsinki? I replied that we were on our way to St. Petersburg. And why, he continued, no happier. The damn, he cursed. Are you going to St. Petersburg? We are going around the world. My answer seemed to give him pause. He stopped and pursed his lips. All the way around it? He inscribed a circle in the air. That is the intention. He thought some more. Which way? Whichever way is the fastest. He nodded deeply again. In that case, do not go into Russia, he said, after much computation. Why not? Russia is a place of Tsarist bootlickers and imperial lackeys. He nodded once. On your journey, if you see any Russians, he added, turn the other way. I said I would consider it, and he nodded. We thanked him for his time and moved on. I believe he was, in fact, a jovial soul, but I did not see any clear evidence of it. I suppose we might as well spend another day here. Before retiring, I did some minor alterations to our clothing to ensure everything was in place for our inevitable departure. I was feeling quite zestful. Alright. Well, I think we can wait for the bank to be open. Maybe we should head into Moscow. Yeah, we'll head to St. Petersburg and then see if we can get to Moscow. Though, I don't know what good it will do. We may not be able to. As we waited for the bank to open at 11 a.m., we sat and had some chocolates. A caffeine wafer, milk chocolate surrounding, and white chocolate drizzle. I found it to be quite enjoyable. I went through our suitcases and luggage and found not much of interest. I thought maybe I would head to the market and try and sell some things. There's not exactly much that I had to sell. Well, it's almost time now for the market to be open, so we should get heading over there. I said to Monsieur Fogg, as I grabbed one last chocolate on our way. I finished my chocolate as Monsieur Fogg looked quite resolved. We must once again make a demand upon the bank, I fear, he declared. I regarded the manager of the bank. We entered, a small man who greeted us with a warm glee. You want to make a withdrawal? The manager asked. We may have to wait a day or two. We require £1,000, I declared. The manager nodded. Only to talk to the London branch to confirm you understand, he explained. The funds will be ready tomorrow. The master shook hands on it, and we left the bank. We took a room and settled in, and I made certain to repack and iron everything to better ready us for our inevitable departure. Alright, I do hope we have traffic missed our train. We returned to the bank at opening time to collect our funds, and then we were ready to proceed once more. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. and it would appear that we have to stay one more day. With the last light of the evening, I went to stretch my legs and fell into conversation with a charming Turkish widower who was looking for a child whom I found near a food stall. The widower thanked me and asked as we talked, remarked that some buyers will pay well for buffalo hides from Odessa. I paid her £1 for the information, and she nodded and then moved away. Alright, let's get on to St. Petersburg. Off on the Baltic ferry we go. We boarded a ferry for the short journey to St. Petersburg. Greetings, madame. Yes? Pray, tell me about St. Petersburg. I hear that many peasants have migrated to St. Petersburg for factory jobs of late. Is it possible to go from St. Petersburg to Moscow? Yes, there is an irregular train service from St. Petersburg to Moscow, but the journey is a tiring one. What more can you tell me about Moscow? So, the Tsaristan can be reached from Moscow aboard the freight train. Interesting. The journey along the Baltic was plagued by ice-fingered winds, as though Russia wished to warn us in advance of the coldness of our welcome. But the people were warm enough, and there was quickly impromptu music in the ballroom below decks, where I was roped into singing, but to my master's endless displeasure. After several hours, I noticed Monsieur Fogg had taken his leave, and made my own excuses to find him and ensure his needs were met. What do we have here? This may come in use for heavy storms, so I will buy it. Yes, it would seem I have made quite the trade, haven't I? Nevsky Prospect, immortalized by Dostoevsky and Gogol, would have been unrecognizable to those venerable writers. Imperial soldiers filled the streets. In Galitzine Kodunki, enormous black iron hydraulic walkers. They were battling rioting peasants who were piloting threshers or were strapped into hammer-handed automata of their own, no doubt stolen from nearby factories. I waved down a Kodunki driving soldier who flashed her gold double eagles in my face, and rolled her eyes when I failed to understand her quick-fire Russian. We said it in German as a lingua franca, and she introduced herself as Staff Captain Akhmatova. Sure. You should leave the city center, she said harshly, before this foreign rabble sets you alight by accident. Why are these peasants rioting? Because they are peasants. She caught my disbelieving look, and then she flexed her arm and the walker's claw caught a thrown bottle out of the air, crushing it with a hydraulic hiss. They want better working conditions, I think. Who knows? They make demands of the sort with violence. I should protest peacefully, I remarked, looking over the carnage of the wide, tree-lined avenue, now blood-spattered with rubble. We are all serfs, unless we have noble blood, Staff Captain Akhmatova said suddenly, voice threaded with bitterness. Do they think they are the only ones who are angry? They are the only ones who dare to protest. She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw, nestled beside her on Kadunky's control panel, a hand-bound, worn copy of Marx's Communist Manifesto. Suddenly, and without a word, Staff Captain Akhmatova turned her mechanical monster away from the pedals and faced her fellow soldiers. Her hands white-knuckled on the control levers as she placed her body between them and the rioters. A great, wordless cry rose up. It echoed against the domes of the church and traveled all the way down the wide avenue through the alleys till it reached the Never River, which transmitted it down its watery, curvy length. The city of St. Petersburg was going to war with itself, and I slipped away, hoping Staff Captain Akhmatova would not be one of the casualties. Well, it would seem that this is where our playthrough will go for the moment, as Monsieur Fogg and I make our journey around the world for 80 days. Please get back with us next time as we see you on day 17 as we depart to Moscow. Hopefully, we'll make it around. Fare thee well.